You see, something is going to happen. Something wonderful.
My God, it's full of stars.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the NY Patriot Show. Tonight I have a very, very special guest, somebody that I was very excited to get on. And I guess maybe one of the reasons why is because this is a fellow practitioner, somebody that actually understands magic and witchcraft a little bit. And I haven't come across too many of those since I've been doing my podcasting experience. So I was happy to actually have somebody on who, like, I could, talk about stuff if that arose. Tonight we have Ashley from the Occult Unveiled podcast. Hello. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. This is fun. This will be exciting. And just real quick, I do have my co-host, Teresa. What's going on?
Hello. What's up? How are you?
Good. Very good. Thank you for jumping on in such a short notice as well.
I'm excited.
You kind of knew, but yeah. Do you want to let everybody know, just in case they don't know, if it's the first time they're coming across this show, that you have another show as well? Would you like to advertise that?
Sure. Absolutely.
Both of
us have shows.
Yeah. I'm sorry. You didn't even. You have no idea. I'm so sorry. I can see how you would mess that up, not knowing it. I'm
Good job. No.
I should have taken care of that before I hit live.
That's okay.
Right. Teresa, tell us about your show.
Sure. So, yes, we do have another show called the Spiritual Gangsters podcast, which is a lot of fun. It's a lot lighter than the show. Well, not always, honestly. Sometimes it gets heavy, but it's just like cool chats for like the Awake and Aware crowd. So it's a lot of fun. If people want to check it out, it's on all the major podcast platforms, YouTube and BitChute, which we just started not long ago. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, definitely check out the BitChute for censorship. Obviously.
Yeah.
YouTube, Yeah, I was on somebody's show and they just got a strike today, and I was like, for like talking about the election, I was like, I don't even know why I brought that up. Like, I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't even remember mentioning the election. Is that even a true strike? Whatever. Like, I'm so over that. Like, how would I even bring that up? But whatever. Let's get back to you now. So, Ashley, let everybody know what you're about. Even if you want to give some credentials, let people know about your past. What you're into, what you've practiced.
Yeah, sure.
If you're comfortable.
Yeah, we can do a quick bio.
Yeah, I would like that actually, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so my name is Ashley Ryan. I go by the online handle Pythian Priestess. I am an initiated Hermetic priestess. I've been a priestess now for 3 years. I've been practicing the occult for 15. I'm 30 for people who want to know. I know I'm still young, but I feel like I've spent a lot of my life dedicated to the pursuit of truth. So I have a bachelor's degree in philosophy and theology. And then I have my master's degree in writing and producing television.
Cool.
Yeah. I love TV. I worked in TV for quite a while. I've been in LA for about 8 years now. It's crazy to think about. And during the pandemic, I became internet famous for this weird niche hobby / secret I had. Like, nobody in Hollywood knew that I was a witch. It was like people kind of knew, but like no one said anything. That's totally changed now though. So the director I was working with on a show called Ridiculousness for MTV was like, oh, you know things that a lot of people don't know. I was like, He's like, well, I have worked in reality television for over 20 years. You're the kind of person who should be hosting your own talk show and talking to other people and explaining this very niche, strange world that you love. And I was like, yeah. So we did it. We started creating the podcast in 2021. It launched in 2022, the Occult Unveiled. And what I love about the Occult Unveiled is that we talk to a wide variety of practitioners, people who are in like traditional witchcraft versus Luciferianism, and even Hindu practitioners who work with the Eastern Vedas and the understanding how to work with the energy beyond just the Western conception of it. Oh yeah, so Chanel West Coast. So that's where my beginnings were. You know, I spent a lonely little girl spending a lot of time in a library in Florida to now someone who gets to share all those hours of reading and practicing.
That's good, man. That's awesome. Good for you. I
Thanks.
think, and you know, it's funny. I didn't start this until the whole thing with the pandemic and all that. Like, it gave me time, and I think there was just a lot of things going on in my life where I was like, I think this is a good time to do this, and here I am 2 years later.
Yeah, here we all are. We are here, and it's so cool how magic has blossomed. And since the, I like to call it the panini, since the big panini happened.
That's funny. That's the one I haven't heard yet. That's funny.
Yeah, there was a TikTok meme from forever ago, and you know that like it was to see so many people in the world who are now interested in magic. It blows my mind because this was so occult or hidden for centuries. You'd be persecuted if you got caught practicing this stuff.
Yeah, that's very true. And now, like me, I have occult tattoos all over me. I had no problem getting a job where I'm in public.
Yeah,
you know, I got the triple thing on my one arm. I got the thelemic hexagram, unicrystal hexagram on my other arm, and nobody thinks anything of it now.
Yeah, and it
20
looks like
years ago, they'd be like, "Are you
background?
worshiping Satan? Get out of here."
Is that Isis or Osset in your background? Who's holding the Ankh?
Hathor.
Okay.
You know what's funny? I almost put up Isis for a change.
Yeah,
I was almost going to change it to Isis.
Oh.
I should have. Damn.
There she is. Oh gosh, I'm reversed. There, she's right up there.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, whoa.
Reverse camera.
I'm already dyslexic, so like it's hard. It's a double bind.
That's funny.
So this is the Pythian priestess behind me. She was my inspiration to become a priestess. So that started when I was 4 years old. I grew up with 2 Benedictine nuns, and they were my aunts, or great aunts. And they said, "Ashley, do you want to marry Jesus and become a nun?" And little 4-year-old me was like, "No, I want to be a priest because that's where the real power's at."
Yo.
That's funny.
Good
Like,
answer.
even as a young age, you understand. That's funny.
Yeah. And
That's
they were like,
interesting.
"No, girls can't do that." And so I went my entire, another 19 years until I learned about Pythia. And she was the Greek priestess at the Oracle at Delphi, or Delphi, as a lot of, I'm sure, Greek mythology nerds know. And she was dope. She got high on fumes and shouted prophecies and told a lot of rich men off. And that's cool.
That's always a plus, right? Told a lot of rich men off. That's
Nice. Dream
great. I
job.
love that. So today on the show, you were going to cover, I guess, like the origins of Valentine's Day, right?
Yes.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know what kind of background this is. I forgot. So.
Yeah, so Lupercalia is really interesting. Lupercalia is the Roman holiday on February 15th. So it's the day after Valentine's Day. Now, there's some pretty interesting origins. I dove into the American Institute for Roman Culture and their little history section on this on YouTube and on their website. There's some Greek origins to Lupercalia as well, which is pretty cool. They didn't give a whole lot of details, but so we know that this is an ancient festival, and it's actually about purification. Later, the Romans would then associate it with fertility, but really it's about purifying and preparing for new crops. So it's an agricultural holiday. Let me tell you that it is not like any other agricultural holiday I've ever heard of. The idea is that there's a Vestal of virgins that they all go around this big hill in ancient Rome. And they are celebrating wolves because the origin of Rome has to do with Remus and Romulus being raised by the she-wolf.
Romulus, again with the Romulus name. Did you ever watch, I hate to bring this up, you ever watch Succession?
I've never watched Succession. No.
There's so many names. They bring up Romulus. There's so many names that they use in that show that if you go back, it's all like names and families that are known from back in the day. It's almost like, are you just taking stories and like making it like nowadays? Like, it's really weird, actually. So.
That's actually pretty cool that they did that. They did some research.
Yeah, they had to have, because like, yeah, some of the names they use, I'm like, those are like known families that are actually warring against each other, and now they're doing it in this show. So it seems really weird.
Absolutely. There's a reason why it's called Rome. Because the brothers fought just like Cain and Abel. Different time, different digression there. So Lupercalia. This is how the festival went. So there were the priests, and then there was a group of men. Now, these men, they could be probably farmers, but they could also include the priestcraft. So first there was a sacrifice, and it was a goat or two, depending on how big the crowd was, and then a dog. And you're like, why a dog? That's super strange. But it's actually, in Roman culture, the dog is the enemy of the wolf. So I thought that was really interesting. It goes back to agriculture. Again, the dog is going to bark and alert the sheep and stuff to move. Okay. So there's a sacrifice of all three of these animals. And then the bloody knife, which was used for the sacrifice, would be then wiped across the foreheads of the men who were there. Then afterwards, there would be a piece of wool, and it was soaked in milk, and it would get dabbed on your head. So the blood is now running down your face along with milk, and the only response you were allowed to have is to laugh.
Wow.
So weird. Like, the experts don't know why. There was some kind of like secret occult meaning to the laughter. I don't quite get it either.
I wonder about like a while ago I had a guest on that talked about like Native Americans, and we went into like some of their practices, and like they had their own like clowns for their rituals, and I just, the clowns just seems to be just, I mean, you got the Shriners, the Inner Order of the Masons, they dress up as clowns. Like this Casey was a clown. He was in Loyal Order of the Moose. He was into this stuff too. So I'm wondering, like I hate to say it, but I do think like the clown thing or laughing or joke, there's some occult undertone with that for sure.
I think there definitely is.
I just don't know what it is, unfortunately.
I'm not sure either. It's one of those mysteries to dive into.
It's one of the mysteries of mysteries.
Mysteries of the mysteries. So after we've had this bath in milk and blood, the men would then take these strips of the wool of the goat, and they would run naked and whip people with them.
Sounds fun.
And this was a purification ritual, and then later was believed to be fertilities. And these whips were called thongs.
Get out of here. No way.
Yeah. THONGS, thongs.
I love it. That's where it came from.
Never wear a thong the same way again.
Yeah. Yes. So that is the ritual. That's what would happen. Then there were later additions that would be added to it, but this was the main ritual. And then it was banned in the 300s by a pope. I don't remember. I think it was Gregory the First, and thus Lupercalia was no more. The end. Wow. But as we know, it's not, because we have Valentine's Day. So how did we get from running around the streets naked, bloody, whipping each other
with milk dripping down your head?
To Eros, to Cupid, and to doves. So right away, we already see some pretty obvious symbology with Christianity and the dove, right? Teresa, you said you had some Christian background?
Yeah, I'm raised Catholic, yeah.
Yeah, so we see that, but there's not like I wish history was this way. I wish there was like a very linear path to be like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and now we have this. But we don't really. What I do know is that during the 1400s, that's when we start to see Eros or Cupid pop up. Now, this is during like a romantic period right before the Renaissance, where humanity was again embracing the arts.
Do you think that was a time? I often think that sometimes the Renaissance was like, I don't want to say something like Great Awakening, just because I hate that phrase.
No, I
But
know,
you-
right? I know.
But do you
It
think,
means rebirth.
do you think that maybe at that time, like there was like maybe people were actually kind of understanding the hidden aspect of and they were putting it in art and talking to each other with it.
Yeah, I do. There was definitely a revival in the mysteries. There was a
Yes.
revival in occultism and esotericism. However, I wonder, if we could look at the planetary movements and see like what was happening during that time. Because here in modern day, we see a lot of warfare and we see a lot of fear that's kind of pushing this, you want to call it whatever, but a great awakening, the age of Aquarius or whatever. But there must have been something going on where there was this push. And I wonder, with the inventing of like the printing press and the Gutenberg press producing more books. But then you also have like the Masons really like were very big during that time too. So,
Interesting.
You never know, right?
Yeah. I'm just thinking like the Lupercalia festival and how it's a festival of purification. It actually reminds me of like Lent, like the Lenten season
totally
for the Catholic Church. So I feel like in addition to Valentine's Day, it also coincides with like, Lent means, you give up things, you purify yourself before Easter. You're supposed to like atone and like,
prepare
yourself for, the resurrection basically at the peak of Easter.
Oh, that's such an interesting like comparison. I love that.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. And then like also like with the whipping, like Christ was whipped later in the story,
He sure
I don't
was.
know. And then like the red and white.
But not with a thong,
like,
though.
No, with the thong.
Not with a thong.
Way worse stuff.
That was the
with
last temptation. That was the thong.
For real though.
No, for real. But then like the red and white of Valentine's Day remind me of like the blood and the milk that we were talking about. And then those combine to make pink.
Very cool. Look at you uncovering secrets.
Yeah, right.
upon
I should be picking
secrets.
this
That's
up.
why he asked me on. No, I get it.
We have a question, if you mind me answering it, from
Go
Helen
for it.
down there. So is the arrow a phallic symbol? Yes, it is. But the arrow through the heart is actually a sacred occult symbol. We see it through both the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And that arrow is supposed to be the Lance of Longinus. So for Teresa, you know what that is?
No, I don't.
I
Tell
don't
me
even know
what
what
it
that
means.
Oh, so the Lance of Longinus
Yes.
was in the Bible, there was a guard that stabbed Jesus in the side, and that's where
Yes.
the blood and milk poured out. That is the lance.
Oh, no way. I was trying to reach for it because I have like holy stuff right beside me right here. I can't like turn and show you.
So wait,
but
what came out? You said milk came out of them?
water.
Milk, water, thank you. Yeah, not milk.
Blood and
okay.
water. Which again, you have the red and clear.
Oh no, I was just
Yeah.
wondering. I
I
was like,
guess.
maybe that's where the milk came from. You know.
No, that was my misspeak.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, no, that's right. So that was the soldier's name.
Right, Longinus, yes. And so
Interesting.
that is why we see the arrow through the heart, because that is a Christian symbol that was then put into this modern day Valentine's Day.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, wait,
Wow.
you mentioned Mary with the arrows in the heart.
Mhm.
How many from your experience that you've seen? What is there like a normal number of arrows in the heart? Like
Usually it's 7.
that's right. Very good.
I think because they're supposed to represent her sorrows through
Right, the 7
Jesus' life.
sorrows of Mary. Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, I went to Catholic school for 14 years. It's finally paying off.
Yeah, I'm using all of it. It's amazing though, all the connections, honestly. Like it's very like people, I think they underestimate Catholicism. It's very mystical, actually.
Oh, super mystical.
I was just gonna say, if people, if you understand Catholicism really well or well read on it, this stuff, you'd be surprised like how much like you would understand occultism probably.
It makes a
I hate
lot
to
of
say it.
sense, actually.
It does, yeah. And they're doing a ritual. The priest walks around. He's got incense. There's like water that's being thrown
It's
for
extremely
purification.
ritualistic. You believe like the crux of the faith is you believe that a piece of bread becomes actual body of a dead person who rose from the dead. Like that's what you believe, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and then you
Eucharist.
drink his blood. It's a blood sacrifice. Ah!
It's the opposite of adrenochrome. That's how I like to think of it.
That's funny. That's funny.
That's why he wants us to do it. That's why.
Wow.
Just my take.
Oh man.
No,
I remember during. Oh, go ahead.
Are you like well versed or like into the Kabbalah at all?
I am familiar with Kabbalah. Yes.
Okay. All right. But yeah, because I had always thought that I looked at kind of like Mary maybe up like on the third sphere of Binah. I always thought the 7 arrows might have actually represented like the 7 other spheres below her. After the world's been birthed into form. Yeah. Yes, that's why I even asked you. I was hoping you were going to see either 7 or 3. But 7, yeah. That's awesome. So,
yeah, there's always layers to understand these things. Symbols are so cool because you can look at it from one side and get an understanding, but then you flip it or you look from a different perspective and there's a totally new understanding.
Yes,
and
that's what I've said this before. You could take a rose, so you put it in the middle of the floor and you take like 8 people and you all stand around it. We're all going to be looking at the same thing, but we're looking at it differently.
Totally.
Not everybody's seeing the same exact thing. So the rose is going to look different to each person there. So there's just so many different ways of looking at something. That's what I'm getting at.
Very true.
All right. I'm sorry to interrupt you. You may continue.
No, it's totally fine. I had like a long lost memory from childhood come up of learning about Saint Valentine in 3rd grade. So first let's start with there were a lot of different saints that were attributed to Saint Valentine. I'm sure both of you are familiar that mystical figures, Saint Germain, some people argue Jesus, or Hermes Trismegistus, really included a lot of different people's ideas under an umbrella to give it more scholarly notoriety during the day. Of course, in modern day, we'd be like, no, you can't do that. So the idea here is that there's probably a lot of Saint Valentines, but there's the story of the main saint. And he was marrying people in the name of Christ when he wasn't supposed to be. And then he was very brutally executed and beheaded.
Poor guy.
Yeah. So that was supposed to be like the sign of true love because he was marrying people who were in love in the name of love of Jesus. And so that was the story. But man, I haven't thought of that in so long.
Yeah. Yep. Imagine that. And too, it's like all you were really trying to do was something nice, actually. You get brutally killed for it. Like, jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's also something about, I don't know if it's the same story or a different Valentine, perhaps, that he was writing like letters from jail.
I remember that.
Prison, and then he would sign it like "Love Your Valentine," and
yes,
that's how we still have the tradition of signing your Valentine. So it's strange.
It is strange. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how humans hold on to tradition when it has meaning. Like fads come and go, but there's something so interesting about symbolism that people really, their minds cling to.
Yeah, it's almost
deep
like
in the
timeless, really.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very good point. That's why I've even brought up, I've pondered on my show before, is there certain maybe symbols that are just somehow already subconsciously already in our mind or something, so that when we see it, it just that's why we're so drawn to it because it's something familiar that we just I don't know. It's I wondered that about sigils maybe and stuff and symbols.
Yeah, the archetypes is something that I would think of for that.
Yes, exactly. Yes, like an archetype. Perfect way of saying it. Yes. Because it's really all just, I think a lot of it all goes back to just a mindset of an idea.
Yeah, it makes me think of Plato and his form of the good. We can have a chair here on Earth, but we will never truly understand the perfect chair in the forms, that kind of idea. So we understand it, but we can't fully grasp it or comprehend it.
What is chairness, right?
To sit or not to sit.
That is the question. There we go. Oh, that's funny.
I wanted to ask you too. I'm glad you mentioned that question in the comment because I was going to ask you that, or I wasn't sure. Can I just start hitting this chick with questions? I didn't want to mess you up. Even with that arrow, have you ever seen on actually, this is horrible. I don't even know if it's in tarot. I'm sure it's on some tarot card. I'm thinking of like the Ninth Gate, unfortunately, with Johnny Depp. But like, the guy who's always in the sky, the archer with the, do you think that's even right there? That might be like phallic symbolism still, like the archer in the sky.
Oh,
Besides the Cupid.
there's
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm sure. And the tarot, I don't think there's anyone who's holding an arrow. There's like some swords through the heart, but I think that, I think the phallic symbol is an important one that we all resonate with, whether it's an obelisk or it's a sword or an arrow.
And then I've also started to think that I was getting this like from trying to me and my ex co-host, we were going to try to cover Revelations in an occult aspect. Yeah. And I had a lot of we both actually had a lot of tarot to go along with how we were going to try to show connections. I was even thinking a lot of the horns blowing and stuff. I do question,
and the judgment card.
Yeah, I do. I think I think my opinion that trumpets or those types of instruments is just another phallic symbol. I think actually, I think it's more of all right, the divine feminine is what's holding us, having everything together right here. If we didn't have that, in my opinion, we just ooze out, just float out into space, But the stuff that's coming out of my voice right now is going out and dissipating. Nothing's really holding on to it. It just kind of goes out. So I've wondered, is even the trumpet or sound itself sometimes used as showing male projective energy in this world of form?
Oh, I think you saying sound is the right word. So if we want to break down masculine and feminine, masculine is projective. Feminine is receptive. So if we are creating sound, my voice right now, this is a masculine feature of speech because I'm creating vibrations. I think that's very accurate.
Nice. All right. I'm not crazy then.
No.
I'm glad you understand where I'm coming from. Somebody who practiced too. That's great. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Where were we when I interrupted you with the whole...
we were talking. I want to know how you thought you were going to tackle Revelations with all the crazy stuff going on right now.
Fortunately, we ended up recording one episode and not finishing because of just whatever.
Stuff happening. I understand.
But a lot of it, believe it or not, was we were trying to tie a lot of tarot to it. The first episode, I think, the one thing that I was actually pretty surprised with, and I will give my the boy the credit, Lux, he had I think the 7 of Cups. Now I think it was from a Golden Dawn deck, and I think each one of those cups even started showing you I think the 7 churches in the beginning of Revelations, and I was just what the
wow.
Yeah, and he was even showing how stuff in tarot that was even pointing that out, and I was damn, how did I not even see that?
Yeah, the tarot is so interesting because the original deck, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, was created by 2 people who were in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, both Pamela Coleman Smith and A.E. Waite. So that would make sense that there would be some Christian influences that you could connect into Revelations. Totally.
Yeah, that's interesting with the earthquakes in Turkey right now, because I think it's the second verse of Revelation relates to the 7 churches that were in Asia Minor, which is modern day Turkey and Syria. So weird.
It was weird. I watched in the Cabin in the Woods last night, I think it's called. It's an old movie.
A knock. Oh yeah, Cabin in the Woods of 2012 with Josh
2012. You nailed it. Wow. Okay. The year and everything. I watched it last night and I was I know this is old, so I checked the year, 2012. I was thinking because of watching that and then Turkey, I was is that the old ones coming back?
Funny.
And then the crazy thing is that Marvel, I think a year or 2 ago, put out a movie on that same idea actually. That they were stopping something from inside the earth coming out, the old ones, and destroying everything. And I was this is a continued story that I've never actually noticed until recently.
The Immortals as well. They try to free the Titans.
The Titans. Oh, I think of the Hercules Disney movie.
The movie Remember the Titans. The full movie. Anyways, I digress.
I'm
a lot of people.
Asking you if
go
you
ahead.
don't mind. What kind of what magical practices are you into, if you don't mind talking about that? What's your thing? Were you big into sigils, candle magic, stuff like that? What was stuff your
So I
Not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just actually interested, you know.
That's okay. I do a lot of candle magic for people.
Nice.
That's what I do. I teach a lot of candle magic as well. That's something that came up in my early life when I was living in Florida. The system that I used right now, I'm sworn to secrecy, so I can't talk about it too much. But I would say that I fall into the Western Hermetic or Western esoteric tradition. So a lot of that magic, you don't really use conventional tools of like a crystal ball or candles. A lot of that's astral magic, which I do not teach, and I will not teach anybody.
Very good. Yeah, you know, as silly as it sounds, you know, when I was like practicing and stuff, throughout the whole time, I think I always kind of stuck with some form of candle magic because, as cheesy as it is, you can actually get very artistic with it. You can
Absolutely.
some people may not know. I mean, you could have a bunch set up for different things. You could be switching them around. You can be burning them for days. I mean, you know. But, I mean, you can start, like, incense, oils, drawing your own sigils. Like, it was almost like fun for witches, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting into it. Like, it was like a hands-on. If you're into craftsy stuff, I thought candle magic was cool as shit, you know? For me.
Yeah, you know, I had my old business partner used to say she was not mystical, but she would say magic is arts and crafts. And I was like, sometimes, yeah, sometimes it can be.
Yeah. I mean, there was even if I was just to invoke Hathor to have a conversation with her, I would still get a green candle. I would dress it up with the certain stuff that goes along with her, maybe even roll it in the incense, draw the sigils or stuff or things on there. So like that stuff, yeah, I was very much into that. I'll admit it.
Twofold. Yeah, it works for you because it puts you in a magical, reflective mind. It also, all of those elements, the correspondences of the herbs and the oils and the color are going to put you in that magical state while also being a nice offering, per se, if you were going to speak to the goddess.
Yeah.
That's one thing I will say that I think a lot of people don't understand is like these things above you don't have to like you or work with you. So be nice and be generous, kind, and respectful.
That is a good point. That is a very good point.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, even look at just if people are using the Goetia, I mean, right there, you're like basically bringing things that don't want to be bothered with you and you're telling them to. I mean, if you know what I'm saying.
No, I do.
So, yeah, very good point.
Yeah. Are we allowed to swear on here? Or is
yeah.
Okay. Like I don't want to fuck with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you better have some nice, especially depending on who you're summoning, raw meat or even just incense, you know, depending on who they are and how well you know them.
You know that I did do that one time with Aries, and I've really I don't know why. I stuck with mostly Egyptian gods, but a few times I kind of like veered off just to try something different. And I actually did use rare meat for Aries, actually. Rare meat and I think some sort of alcohol. You know, and that's like another thing too. And like I'm not first off, I hate to say it, but like even when the word offerings get mentioned for people that might be listening to this, does not mean all of a sudden you have to start pouring blood out of you.
Oh no!
No, but I hate like I just a piece of meat that's raw. There's blood right there. If you want to get crafty about it, but like that wasn't even the whole thing. But it's just I was almost gonna want to get into offerings, but the whole thing is that like what we were saying before, I think people are so ignorant to certain stuff. It's like you don't even want to talk about it. You know, which is unfortunate for me because I'd have more to say if I wasn't thinking that way.
You know, it's so interesting. There's like this idea that magic is there in some people's minds, right? There's this idea that magic is so real and it's being used for this evil, nefarious purpose. But like, man, I've been proven time and time again that a lot of people don't really practice magic. Like, yes, there's magic in your words. Yes, there's magic in your daily life and in the mundane. But true high manipulative magic or even low manipulative magic, not as much as people would like to think.
I think a lot of people do it to themselves.
Totally.
Well, I was going to ask you actually, like with your background in TV, like in your opinion, how much occult influence is there like in production of shows and movies?
I'm the weirdest thing that most people have seen.
Really?
Yeah, you
So
go up to
like
people.
there's not like this group of like writers who's like, okay, we're gonna like incorporate this ritual or like into the show, or
No.
it's like maybe it's more subconscious that like symbols pop up in shows, like, or
So
we're just looking for it so we see it. You know what I mean?
people. This is it. Hollywood is to do one thing. It's to fight for your eyeballs. And we know that there are certain things that capture your eyeballs than other things. So America in particular has been desensitized to violence and to sex. So what are we going to hop into next? Occult. What is the most fringy, but like quite frankly, if you look, with the exception of Sandman was pretty good. Had some occult themes. The Sabrina show was a joke. No offense to anyone who wrote on it. You guys did a
Sandman
great
wasn't
job.
that bad, actually.
Yeah, occult wise, it was not there. Supernatural and The Magicians, both by Sierra Gamble. She's a witch. She's admitted she's a witch, but that is probably the realest occultism. There was a couple of shows that like they have consults, right? They hire people like me to go in there and tell them what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong because they want to get it right now. They realize that, oh, we've done some serious damage. The voodoo doll, there are some people that said, damn, we fucked up. Like we misrepresented a culture and we didn't know. So that's why people like me exist now.
Okay, interesting. I heard that too. Like, I think her name is Dr. Diana Pasulka. I'm trying to get her on Spiritual Gangsters, actually.
Cool.
But she is like a Catholic, like, expert and like, but also has a background in like New Age and like UFO stuff. She's very interesting, and she consulted on like The Exorcist or something. Like some, I don't know, some horror show, and I was like, that's so interesting that they will like call her in and be like, is this correct? Are these prayers like right?
Yep.
You know, or like exorcist priests, they will like ask them, you know, like, is this how it goes down? So like, really, the writers don't know, or like maybe they don't have as much knowledge as we, as the decoders on the other end, like to think that they do. Maybe
the writers, there are people called consultants that get hired. Now we have consultants. There's literally something called the Media and Scientific Exchange. When I worked in TV, that was one of my jobs. I was working on a Netflix show and I would call this exchange and say, hey, I need a neuroscientist to tell me how this surgery would work. Is it possible? Or I need to talk to a meteorologist. What would happen if a 1 mile asteroid hit in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? How many people would die? That is now happening for magic. It's not as sophisticated as that, but Hollywood can reach doctors, scientists so easily. And now because the occult is becoming so big, we're getting more of that. So if you look at older stuff, like you'll see some influence, but it's probably going to be a little bit more basic. Whereas now there's a lot more open and available to us.
Interesting.
Wow, that was great. I was afraid to ask that question, so I'm glad you did. Yeah, I was like, I'm trying to put her on the spot or pry, you know, or
it's all
or
good.
make
I don't
any
mind
weird
being put on the
accusation.
spot.
One thing I would like to ask your opinion on too, just because, you know, I'm talking to a fellow practitioner or whatever. And this is just my opinion, and when I bring this up, I'm not trying to discredit the fact that certain things happen. Just for the listeners, I'm not trying to say this stuff doesn't happen. All right, I just don't want to get attacked saying that I'm trying to stick up for sick, weird people.
Oh, okay.
But I do think, in my opinion, that a lot of occult symbolism that people are already associating with certain type of pizza places or comets, you know, stuff like that, has nothing to do with that at all. And in my opinion, is actually a much more deeper hidden occult symbol, talking about some real deep stuff that they'd rather have you think it's that than the other. I think a lot of people are screwing up symbolism that have nothing, that don't know anything about it. You know, and it's just it's not helping. Like, you know, the spirals and the triangles, those all have something much more different than what people have perverted it into. Those symbols are so much more deeper. The people go on about the pizza pie. Does it not look like the Wheel of Fortune? Am I the only idiot that thinks that maybe the pizza pie could also be the Wheel of Fortune?
I've never thought of that. That's
I guess so, but
it's a circle.
Yeah, but it's also in
divided.
8 slices, just like the Wheel of Fortune card.
Yeah.
So, like, could there maybe actually deep occult symbolism in this stuff instead of it always pointing to kids? Do you
So
see that happening sometimes in the conspiracy community?
This is what I see. You are going to see what you want to see, and you're going to see what your consciousness is at. Your ideas are a reflection of your consciousness. If you are living in fear, if you are living in a fear of being controlled, of being manipulated, you're going to see manipulation and pain. If you are elevated to Christ consciousness, you will see the truth, the macrocosmic meaning beyond the limits of your mind. And that's why things are mouth to ear. So you may go into watching something and like, for example, I'll give a personal example. Okay. I had deep-seated religious trauma with the Christian cross. I was freaking 0 years old when I saw a man dying on a cross, and that really fucked with me. So I was like, I hate the cross. This is terrible. What a terrible symbol of torture. But as I progressed in my occult studies, I came to learn that the cross is much older than Christianity and has actually several different deeper meanings beyond Christianity. Actually is quite a new religion, let's be fair, and especially the conspiracy version you're talking about now. This is surface level. When we get into these deep, primitive archetypes, you start to uncover the truth. But the thing is, people are living in the low vibration of fear, and that is where the conspiracy community comes from. And you know what? I'll say it. Hollywood feeds on it. We do. We love it. We want your eyeballs, and they know how to do it.
Lucifer in action right there.
I love that answer.
Yeah, that was you.
Thank you.
If these microphones weren't so expensive, I would say you should drop yours right now. But
boom.
Thank you. No, it's been something, and honestly, it's like I'm almost gonna have to probably remove, like, somehow control myself with Instagram, unfortunately, because it's like I almost, like, if I was to go by that, I'd shut my show off and just think I'm not accomplishing anything by seeing what people are talking about and believing on that. You know,
Gosh.
it's just, it drives me nuts because it's just like, you know, you're taking something like just the symbolism. People, it's like, where did you come up with that idea?
Oh God!
And like, it's like
really
we're
bad.
never going to understand what that means if people keep on making these outlandish ideas. It's just, I feel
like it's getting worse. Honestly, I don't know what is going on, but like I found the same thing. There's so many accounts that just they either repost stuff like without thinking about it. Also today I saw a thing. It was like it's a Super Bowl ad. I guess it's coming out this Super Bowl with Doritos. So the Doritos are a triangle. So everyone's like, oh my God, it's Illuminati because it's a triangle. And I'm like, okay. But the whole commercial is about the guy ends up playing the triangle and getting famous for like playing the instrument, the triangle, because it was inspired by the Doritos. And they're saying like, oh, this artist is like Illuminati confirmed. And I'm like, I'm all for symbolism, but I'm like, I think it's a stretch. I think we have to consider context. You know, we can't just like, especially with the swirls, like consider context, please. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, okay, I'm all for picking things apart, but like
Doritos can be any circle, square, a triangle. It's a goddamn chip.
Right? Just like, I'm pretty sure they're referring to the Dorito, not the Illuminati or the triangle of manifestation or whatever you want to call it. I'm just like, bro.
It's a chip.
It's a stretch, man. It's a stretch.
It's a chip.
The one example I saw today.
But I know what you're talking about. It's getting out of control. Ooh. And, you know, it's people wanting to make things deep that aren't that deep.
Yeah.
Stop making an ocean out of a shower.
I love that.
Yeah, I deal with that a lot. You know, I struggle on my social. I'm like, okay, how much of this do you guys actually want to know? Because I'll spit truth sometimes and it does not come out well. And that's fine. You guys don't really, you want to stay in your delusion. And I think that's what you're talking about, Teresa, is that there's actually a very large mass delusion that's happening right now.
Yes. You know, and I want to just say this real quick. It doesn't matter like what side you're on, what political party you choose. There's delusions on each side for both people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Whichever team you pick, they got their delusions ready to hand you already. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Critical thinking is probably the best and rarest skill available these days.
On both sides.
Yeah, for everybody, regardless of sides, as a
Yeah.
whole, humanity cannot think.
Absolutely. I was just actually, we were just talking about this earlier today, NY and myself, and I was saying, I think people on, if you want to call it like the conspiracy side or whatever, I think a lot of people are just now so addicted to sensationalizing every single thing that it's like, guys,
Crack hits. It's crack hits.
Not, it's literally crack and dopamine filling to like, post and dissect and all. It's like sometimes it's just not that. Like Eric in the comments here on the live, he's saying sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
It's not
Sometimes
that
a
deep,
blunt
guys.
just is a blunt. Like somebody else.
Hit that blunt. It just is what it is. You know?
That's funny.
Fuck.
I think you're right, but I think so this is a thing of mine because I had to break my addiction from social media. And so I have during the 2020 and 2021, during the prime time of the panini, I was addicted because I didn't have anything else to do. And that's when I learned that those people who created the slot machines created social media, the swipe up, ding, ding, your dopamine like squirt. And you're right. When you compare it to like cocaine, it's exactly the same. And I have no interest in that. So for everyone who's struggling to like find happiness, and that's the biggest fucking lie of all. Happiness is not what you should be searching for. It's inner peace.
Contentment, perhaps.
Stop.
Is a better word.
Contentment. Yeah. If that's what you want to call it, contentment's the same thing. Like however you want to phrase it. But you constantly looking outside for happiness, you will always be unhappy.
Yes. You will never be happy because humans are flawed.
Yeah.
Nobody will ever keep you happy 100% of the time. It's impossible.
Neither will money.
You're right. You know how I like to say it's like we have a void like within our heart. It's like a garbage disposal. And if you're trying to fill it, like if you're trying to fix it with everything that we see out here, it's like it's just going to keep eating it up. You have to go inside and shut it off.
Yeah,
you have to go inside for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it spiritualism, whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it the goddess, Akasha, or whatever. The idea here is that the only thing that can fill you is spirit and going deeper beyond this world of illusion. And now even that's gotten taken out of context. Illusion is not this matrix idea. It's so much deeper than that. And it's a very ancient Vedic Hindu tradition that we aren't giving it credit for. So
Interesting.
I could go on a really long rant. I'm just going to stop there.
No, I was hoping you would.
I love this rant.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Okay. All right. I make TikToks. It's what I do. And sometimes when I go into some spiritual stores, I want to cut my eyes out with a dull rusty spoon because it's angel numbers and because it's like align your chakras, which is great. You should align your chakras, but understand how it actually works. Understand the tradition that it came from, because you're getting this watered, white down capitalist bullshit version of it.
The Lululemon version, the yoga pants version, girl.
Yeah. Like someone's like, well, all of my chakras. So I was studying micro chakras. They're a thing. They're very occult, even in that tradition. And so I was reading this. I was like, other chakras, and there's this whole new age pipeline of like the 25 chakras above your head. And I was like, where's your history? Show me in the Vedic text where that's at. Oh. It doesn't exist.
Since I've never heard of that. I studied yoga for like 10 years. I never heard of
Never
that.
Doesn't exist.
Okay, good. I was like, wait, did I have
No.
teacher or something? Like,
you are absolutely the right kind of teacher.
okay,
so
amazing.
and I was just like, we are consuming, and unfortunately spirituality has become consumption, and that is why we're getting like, I have no problem with angel numbers. That's cool. But if you go to any, I bought like 5 different angel books and I went through all the different numbers. Oh, every single book says something different. And where's my consensus? The only consensus is Dolores Cannon, and she didn't even give a real dictionary a basis of it.
Yeah.
So is it just because humans like to find patterns and want to find meaning? Yes. That doesn't mean those numbers don't have significant meanings. Numbers are very powerful, but stop consuming every bullshit book or TikTok that comes out.
Sometimes, I mean, I'm going to be honest, and I don't think it's all of them, but sometimes I think like some books are actually put out, like it doesn't matter if it's correct. The magic was them making money off that book. Or people just write stuff. People just write stuff knowing that it's going to sell because people are so like sensationalized with this stuff now.
Yeah, that's it right there. It's the selling point.
I mean,
that's painful.
It's trendy and popular, so
Yes.
let's capitalize on that.
I mean,
right?
I've said multiple times myself, what made me end up going into a secret society is like even when I was like reading certain books and practicing out of books, like I think I had 12 Lessons in High Magic or 13 Lessons in High Magic by Donald Craig. I think that's what.
Oh yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah, but like he was doing something with Lee Baresh, so I was like, all right, well Crowley did that, so why don't I just go use Crowley's version of Lee Baresh? And I was like, but wait, it's not the same as in this one. I actually noticed so I was just like, well, now I don't even know, like, you know. So I was like, I guess I'll just go join an order and see what they say.
Right. So that you're right. That's a good point to bring up because there are different systems. Mm-hmm. Crowley has his system of, which later became Thelema.
Yeah.
And then there's the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which is its own system. And now both of those systems have things in common and then they don't. And then you have Wicca. That's its own thing that was informed by the latter two. And the farther you go back, and then it gets shady because your history, right? We don't, secret societies are secret for a reason. So you go back, you get the Rosicrucian stuff, and the farther back you go, at least it has some lineage behind it. I'm always very skeptical. So here's star seeds, right? Star seeds. That started in Theosophy. But if a starseed, you ask a starseed what's their history, they're not going to be able to tell you.
They don't know.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because there was a lot of Theosophy that has been, I guess, sold in a New Age way. And I don't think anybody has the slightest idea that that's what they're doing, you know.
No, and like Theosophy has its merits. I have
think
her.
there is. Yeah, no, I'm not going to knock it.
Yeah, but there's stuff in there. It's just like if you're gonna do. Either know that you have UPG, which is unverified personal gnosis, or know your history. And you know what? Maybe I'm an elitist for that, and I accept that if that's what people think. And to me, that's what makes a very different distinction between someone who is a New Ager and someone who is an occultist or a magician.
Yes,
yeah, I think
that's a good point.
And you know,
Thank you.
And you know what even comes into play is the fact that we have free will.
Totally, yes.
So it's like, I hate to say it, and I don't agree with it totally, but I can understand it to a point that I think like sometimes people are just like, if you choose to do that and believe that, it's your own fault, actually. I hate to say it.
Yeah. And,
if you let these things on the
TV
TV create reactions to a certain extent, you allow that.
Yeah, you allow yourself to get enraged by it. And that's because you're searching for, you said sensations, which is a great word for it.
Mm-hmm. Your outrage is manufactured a lot of the time. I love to say that.
And what does it do? It generates money.
Mm-hmm. Feeds the beast.
We're all feeding the capitalist machine. And I'm it's a double-edged sword because I'm so happy that magic is like kind of popular right now, but it also like is gut-wrenching.
Oh yeah. You know what could kill you? You go on Facebook, witch groups.
Oh no. I reluctantly
you go in there
have
and
my
you'll just
Facebook.
be like, oh man, what are you people saying?
No, thank you. Pass.
Yeah, but I've also thought that's like even it is great, and I have like I do think like even when I like kind of started getting into it a while ago, I noticed during that time like a resurgence. Like I did notice even in the last few years, like people heavily getting into it. It's just that I think it's like you said, it's almost like so woo-wooed, and it's being sold that way that I think like even though there's more people interested in it, unfortunately, I don't think very little more people actually learning what it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of misguided, and this is something that I think about a lot. Well, these are my shower thoughts, everyone. So
Just get vulnerable for a minute.
Yeah. I think that a lot of magic today is geared to give me things, get me money, give me fame, give me. Okay, well, spirituality in the truest form is about elevation of the mind.
You're basically you're answering a question I was just going to ask you. So
Yeah.
Doesn't this not go back to our conversation earlier today, the same one we were having about being like a Satanist and not knowing you're a Satanist because you're being self-serving?
Yeah.
We talked about
I was talking about that because I was like, when I was in the OTO, I actually knew like real Satanists. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. You could easily walk past them down the street and you would have zero idea of what they're into. So like, you don't have to look like Sam Smith to be a Satanist.
No, you don't have to look like Charles Manson either.
No. I mean, these were people that were doctors, teachers, lawyers. They dressed conservative as hell, actually.
Yeah.
Like even
true.
the black dudes dressed like white guys. That's how conservative they were. That I knew what saying is you would never know. You would never know. Not even by the way they act.
A lot of people are by definition without understanding that that's what they are because they're very self-serving.
And to be honest, none of them actually worship the god Satan either.
No. But they make themselves their own god. They make themselves their own authority. And that's the definition of it.
Wow, that's some real wisdom right there. Wow, that is so real.
But it is. And that's what our society has become, is trying to make us all narcissistic Satanists, self-serving. That's what is put on us. And to be the opposite of that is very difficult in this society, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's not the people walking around in ropes. Okay, now let's be real clear here, because this is a question. All right, I'm a true crime junkie. I don't consume a lot of true crime, to just Ashley Flowers true crime. And something that's so interesting is that you see people who will be like, well, Satan made me do it. And it's like, okay, free will. Nobody made you do anything. Mental illness. And then thirdly, like there was a really interesting man in Chicago who did do some absolutely terrible things of sacrificing animals and eventually sacrifice members of the cult. But that's understanding that that is a destructive cult and someone who is not divinely led. Even if like he says he's worshiping Satan, as like that's his mind, you guys. Like there's ways to test what you're talking to. And if you don't know how to do that, yes, you're doing magic, but you are like doing caveman magic. Yeah. So sure, Satan makes people do stuff isn't a thing. It is sometimes it's a way for people to plead insanity. It's sometimes people are actually very mentally ill and don't know how to get rid of their own demons. Because Aleister Crowley writes in the Lesser Key of Solomon that all of the demons are inside of us. They're all parts of our mind. And so when you have that devil whispering in your ear, the chances of it being an actual macrocosmic demon, super unlikely. More than likely, it's your own darkness, your false darknesses, or just even your humanness or animal nature, whatever you want to call it.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that about the Goetia and Crowley. And some people even argue too, well, he did, like, I think he reworded his opinion on that. And to me, I don't remember what it is anymore, but I remember when I was looking at the two, I'm like, I still think he's still saying the same thing. He just said it in a different way and people are misunderstanding. Those things are very much real in your mind. Yeah. I think before people were saying he wasn't saying they're real. I think the way he reworded it is, no, they are real and they're in your head.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Now there are definitely macrocosmic.
Us, I think.
I'm sorry. Can you say that one more time?
I said those are all the things I think we choose to handcuff ourselves with. Actually, those are all like the
absolutely.
Demons, yes. But then again, go along with what you were saying. There may be things in macrocosm, like you were going to say, right?
Again, are you actually talking to those macrocosmic things? Damn, I would be really hella impressed if you were. I'd be hella impressed.
Sometimes I just think it's like a radio wave that like you were just susceptible to picking up and you just got stuck running with it and you let it take over.
And it's so hard to tell what is delusion and what is like real. And that is because the human mind is so, well, for some people, it's unfiltered. So you might be talking something that's half like the macrocosmic will always influence the microcosmic. But if you can absolutely invoke whether angel or demon in front of you, mad respect.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's like even other things that I just want to say real quick, and then I want to ask you one more question, and we'll wrap it up. But like, that was even things that like I would like read stories and stuff from like other people practicing magic, and like they're like describing this full apparition, and I'm just like, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I was like, maybe you just saw what you wanted to see with your incense smoke. You know, but to kind of go along with something you said before, and I guess maybe like a nice way to wrap it up, talking about inside our heads again. We were talking about the demons. We were talking about, I guess, like maybe like real magic and change and stuff, and inside. For me, some of the most magical experiences I had was literally just closing my eyes and going into a meditation. You know, I didn't need to set up all this. I didn't need the altar, actually. I mean, I'm sure all that stuff helped throughout my magical career. But really, when I started realizing that I'm the problem and that I need to change, and started looking into me and started meditating and stopped with, like, trying to obtain all this stuff from the outside and doing it inwardly, that's when I really felt that real magic started to happen. Can you, like, maybe, do you agree with that? Do you think that a lot of the real work can really just come from sitting alone and meditating and on yourself and just working on yourself, really?
I think that is where the true magic is. I think that meditations are very powerful, and a lot of people don't understand that they need to clean their garment a little bit. And that's not saying that you're a failure or you're a bad person. It's just making sure that your mind is the most powerful magical tool you have. And unfortunately, our minds are very cluttered and they're kind of dirty in many ways. Yeah. So the tools of crystals and wands, themes, the altar, those are all great. And sometimes, depending on rituals, you might need them for real.
Yeah, I understand that.
But the deepest magic is of you. And I hope that for all of those who are listening to really take that in, that you are the universe incarnate. You are both darkness and the lightest light there is. And it's up to you to learn how to balance those forces within you. And the best way to do that is tackling it head on. I do that both through my system that I work with, and I do it also through hypnotherapy. I think hypnotherapy is a wonderful tool for people. I mean, they literally put you into a trance. The same thing I do when I go into meditation. And a lot of time it's like a guided meditation into my mind, where they can perform psychic surgery and I don't lose my mind. I don't come crazy.
Basically, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a real part of, for me, that's for my story and my experience. The magic really started to happen when I started really looking inside, myself.
Yeah.
And being okay with the silence, sometimes.
Oh my God, silence is so important.
And
exoteric is the speculation, right? That's the lights, that's the sensories, but the internal, the esoteric is where it's at.
And sometimes people with this, like, oh, meditation, that doesn't sound too exciting. Oh, that is so boring. But just from my experience, I guess maybe once things started clicking and I did practices, this was all practices. I had to get to this. It just doesn't happen, at least not for me. But at one point, I will say, with my meditations, I can close my eyes and I will direct the most amazing, beautiful movie inside my mind.
Cool.
You know what I'm saying? I can escape this world and actually, so like, people may think it's very silly, boring, and mundane, but if you really put effort into it, I think it will change who you are, and you might even be able to get some interesting visuals out of it yourself and having a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much. I was glad that we got to talk about, I know it was supposed to be on Valentine's Day. We kind of just talked about that and went into a whole bunch of other things, but I'm really happy we did, though.
I am too.
I think this episode went perfect the way it should have gone. I appreciate being able to talk to somebody who is a practitioner and gets this stuff as well. That was truly fun, actually. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would definitely like in the future another topic, maybe actually stuff with like practicing or whatever, or a specific thing. Maybe I'd love to have you. I'd love to have you back on. So maybe in the future I'll contact you again and we can chop it up, because I think we had a bunch of people on the lives and went pretty well, and I had a great talk. Thank you again. For real.
Oh, thank you.
It was really cool to talk to somebody who practices. I'm sorry. I'm just like all excited.
No, it's cool for me too, because I sometimes I have to like bite my tongue.
Yeah.
Like,
I think the thing was too is like, honestly, for the last 2 years, like when I had the Occult Rejects, it's like I only had that one other person that I was able to talk to. So like finding someone new that actually really practiced and knows their stuff is like, woo. So thank you, and thank you for at least having thank you for bringing some knowledge and some experience to my show.
Yes, and to all your listeners, if you've enjoyed listening to me, please come listen to the Occult Unveiled. Our new season drops this Tuesday on Valentine's Day. We cover all types of topics across the world, ranging from Thelema. We talk about Luciferianism, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to be totally honest with you. When I looked at some of the guests that she had on her show, I actually didn't even expect a response back from you. No, I'm going to be totally honest. I was like, she's getting these guests on. She's not going to come on my show. But so definitely go check out her show. Very impressive. She has some impressive guests on there, I have to say. You hit the floor running pretty good. So definitely go check out her show. It's another reason why I was like, I got to get her on. If she's had these guests and she's got this type of show, we got to have a chat. So, her link will be in the bottom after we hang up now. I will add them into the live, and I will leave the live up until the episode drops. So, check it out. Her links are in the bottom. Teresa's show. You want to plug it real quick?
Sure. So if you didn't hate the sound of my voice, please come check out the Spiritual Gangsters. It's a good time. Maybe one time we could have Ashley on if she's not too busy. But yeah, I think it would be really cool. I really enjoyed, talking with you, and thank you, NY, for having me co-host with you.
Yeah, no, of course. Thank you. Like I said, I had an amazing time. Everything is in the show notes. Go check out her show. Go check out the Spiritual Gangsters if you've never heard of it. Also, just to reiterate, I know I've said this on other shows. In case you are watching this right now, this is also going to be available in podcast form. If this is the first time you've come across this, it will also be on audio on all major podcasts, and it's also available on BitChute. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.